Hey everyone, Evan here on Thursday, March 24th with a weekend market recap video. We are first going to analyze the current market environment. We're going to look at some other markets, sector analysis, individual names, and then some trade ideas I have for you heading into next week. Now, we just did a recap yesterday because of the shortened week due to the market being closed tomorrow for Good Friday. Not a whole lot has changed, so let's spend a little less time on the market environment, a little more time going through some trade ideas and individual names. To recap, again, it's been a pretty quiet week. It started to heat up a little bit towards the end, but let's recap where we came in. We started the week off Monday here inside of this kind of consolidation holding pattern near the highs. Went sideways Monday, went sideways Tuesday. Wednesday finally saw bears getting a little bit of traction, closing on the lows, and then today, Thursday, we had a gap down and the bulls stepped in and bought that dip. So that was constructive action. When we came in on Thursday, things looked weak. Breadth was pretty favorable for the bears, and it was follow through to the downside on Wednesday's close. So you started to think, well, if the bulls don't step in here, this could lead to a larger retracement, but that wasn't the case because we did see breadth continue to improve throughout the day. We saw the dip buyers step in, and while, again, it wasn't a uber bullish day, it was still pretty constructive, all things considered. Thought we could potentially trade down to this 201 level, retest this prior pivot low, and then these highs back here from March. We did not get there. Maybe we will heading into next week, but for now, this downdraft has been at least stopped a little bit. You can see price sandwiched in between some of these fast-moving averages. So it's some classic consolidation going on here, and I think that overall is constructive. It will fuel us for sort of the next directional move, but given that we do have some pivot highs and lows to work with, it looks like we could be in store for some choppy action, kind of trade both ways here and get some two-way action. So we'll have to see how that shapes up heading into next week. The volume, again, was a little light this week, maybe because of the holiday shortened week, so maybe things will start to stir up a little bit more, and we'll see if the bulls can sort of follow through and continue their bounce higher into early next week. Now, one last point here with the SPY, we finally did get the first red close that we've had, the first down close that we've had in 6 weeks now, and it was basically an inside day. I think we matched exactly tick for tick the highs from last week with this week, and we did not take out the lows, so we got a little bit of a sideways day. Again, healthy digestion. I think that's constructive, all things considered. Let's see what happens heading into next week. Now, looking at the IWM, had a nice reversal today as well. You could see it was probing these lows down here. Now you finally start to see some well-defined support down here right around today's lows, 105.75, which, again, the weekly lows here. I think this is an important zone. You have this area up here, which, again, was the big breakout level, support level from 2015. That's constructive. So, again, or that is resistance. So, again, we're range bound here in the context of a uptrend. So let's see if we just need some more time moving sideways. That is constructive, I do believe, and we'll see which way this all tends to fall next week. Again, 105.50 to getting back above 109, 108.50, getting back above this area. I think that's the 3-point range that you should keep an eye on. If we go to the Qs, most constructive this week, it did actually end up closing slightly down, but effectively was flat on the week. And you can see it's been pretty lackluster, but it's holding in there. I think as long as we're above 106, I think things are okay. Support really hasn't been broken. Of course, we did break it today, this minor support right around 107 from the past several days, but the bulls did step in again, bought that dip, brought us back to flat. So we'll have to see once again if we can continue higher heading into next week. Now, if we look at some other markets, TLT, we discussed this potential breakout at hand. It looked good earlier in the day that we were seeing some strong continuation, but that move was faded. Exact inverse of what we saw in basically all those equity indices. So still looking good, still have support below us. Let's see if this can continue to emerge and trend higher. Gold, inside day today, looking like it's getting ready to make some more explosions here soon. I don't like the look of this. This looks pretty bearish to me. We'll have to see how this acts heading into tomorrow. Silver, similar situation. This actually did continue lower just a bit. If you look at the weekly chart, you can see technically hasn't done much damage, even though this weekly bar looks bad. You can see it's right at support right here. Typically, these types of moves don't end too well. In other words, typically we see follow through when something closes directly into support like that, but it's still anyone's guess right now. The trend you can see is trying to turn up, so it would be a shame for the silver bulls here to kind of give it up at this point when we were sort of so close to try and bucking a much larger trend at work. So certainly interesting things happening there in the metals. USO stepping in and bulls buying this dip again. Looks like, you know, more or less you're starting to see 970, 960, these mid nines, a little bit of a range develop here. That's healthy, that's constructive. It's had a nice move. I think tightening up just a bit here will set us up, you know, in the future for a more reliable breakout pattern in either direction. UNG caught a bit of a bounce today, still coming off of this sort of potent move here on Wednesday, 4% down day. Needs to get back above 650 or so, and then really, you know, 660, 675. Got to start clearing through some of these recent highs, this trend line that's coming down here. Otherwise, it is vulnerable to trading back down towards these lows, so keep an eye on that one. Now, if we look at some of the sectors this week, XLU continues to perform, had a 58 basis point up move this week. That looks good as it continues to trend towards highs. And interestingly, IBB, the biotech, starting to look, starting to at least show some outperformance here on a relative basis. Notice up 1.65% this week. And while I put a post out this Thursday on this, head to thetraders.com to read that. But there are some names that were popping up in my scans this morning in this sector, and I thought that was surprising, just given how weak and beaten up this has been all year. I haven't seen biotechs on my bullish scans, you know, at all in 2016, and now I'm starting to see some surface. So keep an eye on this developing. Nice outperformance this week, and to a lesser extent, healthcare, XLV. Keep an eye on this, as this is very sort of quietly consolidating right underneath a pretty important resistance level. If this starts to break out above $68, you might see some of these names start to move there. So keep an eye on that into next week. And XLK finally, technology holding up pretty strong overall this week, ended up flat or ended up slightly positive on the week. Now, looking at some individual names of interest, Amazon had a really impressive 3-day move here off of this nice reversal that put in on Monday. Tuesday saw follow through to the upside. Wednesday follow through. Thursday follow through from the bottom to the top end of this range. Weekly chart starting to look pretty constructive here, almost a textbook engulfing bar, but not quite. But still, this looks good. A close above 580 was what the bulls really wanted to see. They got it. So let's see if this can continue into next week. I like it. Netflix, kind of the opposite here. This fading off the strength a little bit, back below $100, lost, you know, this $99.50, $100 mark. Let's see if this continues to sort of fall to the abyss and some of these lows down here right around 95, which would be very important for it. You can see it did hammer out a little bit towards the end of the day, so might not be too much of a concern just yet, but just keep an eye on Netflix as slightly underperforming just a little bit. And similar note, Twitter is more or less hanging on for dear life. You can see this one hammered out a bit today at a very important level. I think $16 needs to get back above there, otherwise this one looks to be in trouble yet again. Tesla, this one had a nice bounce today. Buyers stepping in. I think we talked about that in the video. When you have a nice strong trend like this, expect some buyers to step in after a few days of pulling back. We had a 3-day pullback by the open of today with that big gap lower, and that was buyable for a nice trade to positive, up 2.3%. I think they have an event coming up next week or in the next couple of weeks, so right now trend looks good there. Alibaba, this one again had a gap lower sellers tried to probe down, but you can see it did end up reversing, closing not quite green, but still much better than it was trading for most of the session. Bullish alignment in some of these moving averages, that's what you want to see, and that's when you can expect buyers to step in when that trend is bullish. And then finally, GoPro. Don't forget about GoPro. I don't say that this is the most actionable pattern yet, but it is quietly consolidating. Feels like it's been dropped off of most people's radar. So I just want to say, keep this one on watch. As it starts to get back above $13, that's when you should get interested in it. And then, maybe above $13.50 or so, you could start to get some nice movement to the upside here. So just keep it on the back of your watch list there is something not to forget. Now, for some trade ideas heading into next week, Pandora had a nice explosive 10% move here. I'm not sure if there was news on this whatsoever, so just do your due diligence there. But I like the nice breakout above these recent highs for the past several weeks. It's been beaten up quite a bit, but it's doing the work it needs to move sideways and start to stair step higher. So you might get more out of that one heading into next week. BOFI, I don't love this sector. Banks, I mean, maybe it is going to, we're going to start to see financial services and some of the bank stocks perk up as maybe rotational play. But for now, I don't love this sector. But keep an eye on this one because it's to the top end of its recent base. If it can start to get above this week's highs, this one looks pretty good to me. NTCT, technology play, I like this here. You can see the nice base. Had a nice impulse leg higher through these highs, went sideways, moving averages caught up, and now it looks like it's trying to move again. If it can still see some, if it can get some continuation above 22 bucks, NTCT looks good, and one more XYL, moving to all-time highs. Yes, recent IPO. Well, 3-4 years old already, but doesn't have a tremendous amount of history. This is all-time highs, very close to it. This one looks really good here, 1% up day. Look at this nice, tight, high green consolidating action here. I really like this type of play, so keep an eye on this one heading into next week. And that's what I have for this weekend's recap. Once again, if you like the videos, please do subscribe. As always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.